Hi, welcome to Actualol. I'm headed off to the UK Games Expo later this week, so I wanted to talk about the games and booths that I think are worth checking out there. I'm looking forward to meeting loads of you there. If you do come up and say hi, I've got Timmy badges again to give away just like last year, and this year I also have badges of my hipster character as well. The best place to find me will be the Fog of Love booth, which is in Hall 1 at booth C7, and I'm going to be working there at Friday morning 9:30 to 2, Saturday morning 9:30 to 2, and Sunday afternoon from 2 PM onwards. So if you want to come and say hi, get a selfie, get a badge, then that's the best time to do it. I'm also going to be selling some prints there of my last game night. This is my YouTube banner image, the last game night, and also of Timmy. So I'm selling these for £5 each. If you'd like to buy one, please ask me. I won't have them out on display, but I will be carrying them in my bag. So if you want one, just let me know. I'm also very excited to be a guest on 2 live shows, which you can come and attend. There's the This Game Is Broken podcast, which is a comedy panel show about board games. If you've never listened to that, absolutely check it out. They're hilarious, and I've been a guest on it twice before in the past. This is going to be a live show at 3 PM on Saturday in the large Piazza venue, wherever that is. And then I'm also in the No Pun Included live show, which is at 9 PM on Saturday in the Toot Suite. And both of those are first come, first serve, so just try and get there early to avoid disappointment. If you are coming to the expo, I've got 3 really good tips for you on how best to plan what you're going to see and do. First of all is the UK Games Expo Geek List. This was made by Tom Heath of Slicker Drips, another YouTuber, and he's done a wonderful job this year and last year putting together all the different publishers and all the games that are being demoed. And there's absolutely loads on there. It's not everything because he's really hoping that publishers will submit the info for him. He doesn't know what people are bringing, but there's loads of info on there, just a big long list of all the games that are going to be available and a bit about them, so you can really go through and see the things that you're going to be interested in. Then there's also the Tabletop Together tool, which if you've ever been to Essen, you can use for that and other conventions too. It's really, really good thing that basically just takes the geek list and makes it in a more palatable format that you can then select which games you like, which games you really want, games that you might have pre-ordered. You can make little notes. It's just an amazing tool for kind of tracking all the things and whittling down your list. And then finally, Analog Gamer have put together a map. They've taken the map and instead of it just having all the booth numbers on, they've put in the names of all the different publishers and companies that are in the different things. So that map is just so much better than the map that the UK Games Expo provides. So all 3 of those things are amazing and make it so much easier for you. And I've put links to where you can find all of them in the description below. So absolutely go check them out. And thanks to all 3 of those groups and people for making those tools because it just makes my life so much easier. Right, let's talk about the games that I'm excited about. I've put booth numbers in the description below and also links to BGG pages so you can find out more about the games if you're interested. Up first is a game that I'm really excited about. This is Chronicles of Crime from Lucky Duck Games, and they are at Hall 1 H26. This is a demo only, a game that was recently on Kickstarter, so it's not quite out yet. And this is a crime-solving cooperative game, so it's inspired by games like Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, where you are solving a case together. There's going to be some kind of story or puzzle, and you are working together and working through that case. And once you're done it, it's very much a kind of one-and-done thing, and then you move on to the next one. The really interesting twist with this game is that it comes with a VR element. So you have an app that you use with your phone and that becomes like a virtual reality headset so that one person is going to be looking at the crime scene and finding out evidence and then communicating it to their teammates. I don't know much more about it than that. With these types of games, I like to just get interested when I hear about it and then I kind of close off like you would do with a film where you don't want to get spoilers. So that's all I really know about it. I'm absolutely can't wait to demo it and find out a bit more. But yeah, it's a crime-solving game. It's got VR. I love the Mask of Moai and Anubis games that use VR, and I absolutely love Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. So combining those 2 things just sounds like a win-win for me. And Lucky Duck Games, they've been doing some interesting Kickstarters. They've just recruited Philip Malinsky as the new creative director, and he's one of my favorite designers that did Capital, CV, and MS Battery. So I think having him on board And they've also worked with a lot of different designers to do cases for Chronicles of Crime, so it just sounds great. Jetpack Joyride is also from Lucky Duck Games, so this is at the same booth. Also a demo only. I think the Kickstarter's coming up for this one, and this is a real-time puzzle game. It's based on an app that I've never played, but it has some really nice looking Tetris-style plastic puzzle pieces, and it's a puzzle game in real time. I love real-time games. I'm not sure I'm 100% convinced with it, but I'm gonna check this one out when I go and check out Chronicles of Crime. Certainly got a nice look to it, and I tend to be drawn to games with those Tetris-style pieces. Holding On: The Troubled Life of Billy Kerr is definitely my next most anticipated game. I'm super excited about this one and Chronicles of Crime, and then there's a big gap between the rest of the games because I've just been hyped about this one ever since the day I heard about it. This is at Hall 2, Booth E2, and this is from Hub Games, that used to be known as the Creativity Hub. So last year they had the games Untold, Adventures Await, and Blank, and they're obviously trying interesting things with their games, and this one just seems completely new and different. The theme is that there's this guy called Billy Kerr, and he just had a heart attack. He's 60 years old. He had a heart attack on a plane coming back from Sydney, Australia, and he's been given days to live by the doctors. And you're playing the nurses who are cooperatively working together to try and find out secrets of his troubled past. So I don't know if you're trying to keep him alive, maybe that's part of it, but you're sort of unraveling this story about his life, and that just sounds so fascinating to me. I love any game that is trying to tackle something new, but something that really taps into human stories. That's why I loved Fog of Love so much. And I'm really excited about, and This War of Mine as well. And so I'm really excited about any game that tries to go into that realm. So if you ever hear about other games, please let me know. But this one I feel is like the next one in almost that trilogy, and I'm hoping it's going to keep encouraging a new wave of that. Apparently it has some interesting storytelling aspects to it. I don't know if you will get new piece of the story every time you play. This is all to be found out, but I'm definitely going to be demoing this one. Unfortunately, it is demo only. I believe it's probably going to be coming out maybe Gen Con or Essen later this year. Right, well, you do actually want some games that you can buy at the UK Games Expo. It can be a bit of a tricky thing with this convention where all the publishers are preparing their games for Gen Con and Essen, and so they're ready to play, but they're not ready to buy. And so there's a lot of really interesting games to demo here, not as many to buy. But this one you can buy, and this is High Society from Osprey Games, and this is at Hall 1, C4. This is a really old Reiner Knizia game. I think it's 1995, and it's a really simple card game, an auction game, where you play as rich people trying to show off and buy luxury things. And the really clever catch of the game is that you're bidding on these things and getting all this cool stuff. But at the end of the game, if you have the least amount of money, you immediately lose. So you don't want to be poor. You don't want to spend all of your money and then not have any left. So I love that little thematic touch. But really what I love is just that it's such a tight, brilliant, short auction card game. I used to have the previous version, and now Osprey have brought it back. They haven't changed any of the rules, but they've delivered this amazing artwork in this lovely small box. And for me, it's just a quintessential travel game. And I'm almost certainly going to be making a video about travel games later this year, and this game will be in that list. But I wanted to talk about it and tell you about it first. So I would really recommend going and trying or getting High Society. It's such a small box, and yeah, it's just great travel game for 3 to 5 players. Pikoko is from Brain Games. This is in Hall 1, B14, and this is also for sale. This is a trick-taking game from Adam Porter. He designed Doodle Rush and Big Bazaar. These are two light sort of family party games that I love from last year's Essen. And this one's a bit of a change. This is a trick-taking game, although it also seems fairly light. And it's got an interesting 3D component to it where you are putting out your cards on these peacock feathers, because this game has a twist, a bit like Hanabi, where the other players can see what cards you have and you can see everyone else's cards, but you can't see your own cards. But that's the similarities with Hanabi end there, because it is a trick-taking game. And I don't tend to love trick-taking games, but the ones that I am interested in are the ones where you have to place a bet before the round as to how many tricks you're going to win. And that's what's in Pikoko. Another thing that got me excited about this game is watching Adam's video. So Adam, I've talked about before, has this great video channel, YouTube channel called Adam and Wales. He does these really in-depth videos about different types of game mechanisms. He's kind of approaching his videos from the point of view of a designer, and he tends to have very similar taste to me in terms of the games that he likes. And he just did a video about all the different types of trick-taking games, and it really just went into the history of trick-taking games and gave me a complete education. I highly, highly recommend going to watch that video, but he also explained a bit about how his game works there as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying this one. That's from Brain Games. Doodle Rush is also at the Brain Games booth, and this is for sale. This one's only just come out in the UK, but I picked this one up at Essen. It's also designed by Adam, but this one's a speed drawing game, and it's just a whole lot of fun. It's a 6-minute game, that's all it is. You spend a minute drawing, and then a minute guessing, and then twice more. And you have 6 words that you're trying to draw, and then you're doing all at the same time, and then you're all guessing at the same time. You're trying to shout at people to guess at yours and trying to guess other people's, and it's just got a real frantic pace, like Happy Salmon games like that. Really wakes you up for a party game. So I've kept this one in my collection. I'm going to be reviewing it soon, actually. But it's definitely one that you could just go and demo in 10 minutes and get a taste for it and see if you like it. I think it'd be great for kids, or great if you just want to go and play a fun game for 10 minutes and there's a space at the Brain Games booth. That's Doodle Rush. Pyramid of the Pengqueen is also from Brain Games. I believe this one's demo only. And this is a reprint of a game called Fluke de Mummy, which I've never played, but I believe that Eric Summer on the Dice Tower podcast used to talk about it a lot. And it sounds really interesting. It's got a vertical board, so it's kind of like a 3D thing going on. And one person is on one side, everyone else is on the other side. And then you're using magnetic pieces to kind of move around this board. And of course, the person on the one side is kind of the bad guy, and they're trying to catch the other players, but they don't know where they are, but they can try and deduce where the other players are by the actions or the cards that they play. I'm not sure quite how it works, but that sounds really interesting. I certainly like games that have a unique twist on things, and I imagine that one's going to be quite a spectacle of a game to play. So hopefully get to try that one out. They've changed the theme and put it in their ice cool world, so it's got this very cute penguin artwork in it. So that's Pyramid of the Pengqueen. Detective, a modern crime board game, is at Hall 1 C22, and this is from Portal Games. This is only a demo, but this is a game that I am definitely anticipating hotly. I'm wanting to keep my expectations low, but it sounds amazing. It's another crime-solving game. Think Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective and Chronicles of Crime. I believe it's cooperative, and you've got these cases to solve in, I think, modern-day America. So that's just a theme. I love games set in the modern day. That sounds great. And the interesting twist with this game is that there are certain things that you will need to understand to solve the case that you will have to research in the real world. So there are things in the case, maybe it's something to do with science or evidence or locations, and you will literally have to use a computer or your phone or Wikipedia or whatever to find out certain information. And so I love that. The idea that you are acting like a real detective, that you are having to do proper research, that you're going to learn things playing this game, but also it's just going to feel so thematic that you're actually doing something that a real detective might do. It sounds like it's quite a simple system apart from that. The only reason I'm a bit hesitant is simply that I was disappointed by Portal Games' last big game, which was the First Martians. And so I just hope that they get things right with this one. It sounds like it's going to be a smash hit. Let's hope so. That's Detective, a modern crime game. Flicky Spaceships is in Hall 1 D6. And this is from Room 17 Games. They're a relatively new British publisher. And this one is a dexterity game. And it's got this interesting hexagonal board with borders. So you're flicking around these spaceships across these different planets, but it can't ever go off the table because you're going to bounce into the edge. And what you're doing is you're going to these planets, and the planet that you end on for that turn, you'll collect resources from, and then you use those resources to buy upgrades for your ship so you can improve your attacking abilities or your defending abilities. And so every ship is going to come a bit asymmetric as you play, and you're going to get different abilities and powers. And so you might become really strong at attacking other ships, so when you smash into them, maybe you'll deliver more damage, things like that. So it sounds any dexterity game that adds that little extra element of kind of theme, but also just a bit more thinkiness. I'm always intrigued. It doesn't always work, but from what I've seen, they've done a really good demo video of this. It does seem like it, I don't know, I'm really hopeful for this one. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying it and see if it lives up to my expectations. Museum Rush is also at Hall 1D6 because it's also from Room 17. And this is a competitive heist game. So you are all going to a museum and you're trying to steal the most loot. And you're trying to avoid security guards and cameras. This one, I just love that theme. I love it because it's different. It's also set in a modern day. I love crime themes and it's fun being a criminal. And Burgle Brothers is a game that I really love. But this, of course, is competitive, whereas Burgle Brothers is cooperative. This game's got really, really nice artwork, really good style to it. And it's also got these cute little miniatures for the security guards. So yeah, I'm again hopeful for this one. I really would love to see a British publisher with some amazing, exciting games that I can rave about. And so I can't wait to try Museum Rush. Ticket to Ride New York is Hall 1A1. This is from Days of Wonder. And this is a shortened, simplified version of Ticket to Ride, set in New York in the 1960s, and instead of building train routes, you're building taxicab routes. And when I first heard about this, I kind of ignored it in the way that I ignore a lot of Ticket to Ride stuff, and yet, the more I think about it, the more I'm intrigued by it. I have Ticket to Ride Europe, it's the one copy that I have, because I think it's a great gateway game. It was my gateway game, and I keep it to play with people that are super new to board games that I want to give them something really simple. And yet I do find that for a gateway game, it goes on a bit long, and I tend to prefer shorter gateway games in case somebody just hates it and we want to move on quickly. And so I play Las Vegas a lot and Sushi Go, and now I love the idea of a shortened Ticket to Ride. Give people a taste of it, and then if they like it, they can move up to something bigger. So yeah, if it packs the same punch and decision making, but just in a shortened time frame, maybe in a smaller box, that would be great. Then I'm actually growing in enthusiasm for this one. Unfortunately, it's demo only, but yeah, let's see if this one's worth it. Shadows Amsterdam is at Hall 1 B9. This is in the Estivium booth, and they're going to be demoing a lot of games from the larger Asmodee group. They didn't give a whole lot of information about these games, and in fact, there are some games that have been announced where there's just a title. And so these are from exciting publishers like Pearl Games and Space Cowboys and Ludonaut, and I would be excited about them, but there's no description, there's just a name, there's not even a BGG page for some of them. So I've left them off this list. But Shadows Amsterdam is one that there is a bit of information about, and this is a cooperative deduction game. I believe, again, it's a crime theme. I love the idea that it's set in a modern day Amsterdam. That really appeals to me. I love games set in the modern day. Crime games I love, and cooperative games I love. So I don't know really about how the gameplay works, but this is from Libelud, who make amazing production games like Mysterium and Dice Forge. So I'd always want to give their games a try, and certainly going to try this one. This is only being demoed on the Saturday, so bear that in mind. Blue Lagoon is also at Hall 1 B9, and this is only being demoed on the Friday. This is a new game from Blue Orange Games and designer Rainer Knizia, and it's got a beautiful look to it. I don't really know how the game works, but I've got really into the lighter side of Rainer Knizia games later. I've been playing a lot of Through the Desert lately and High Society, like I said earlier, and he obviously has a huge collection of games. Some are amazing, some are terrible. I really hope that Blue Lagoon is great, and I know that Dan King, the Game Boy Geek, has already given it a positive review, so that certainly gives me some hope. And Blue Orange tend to release some really good games with really nice artwork. So yeah, excited that hopefully Rainer Knizia is still making exciting new games to this day. Let's find out. Maki Stack is being demoed at the same booth on Sunday only. This is a dexterity game where you are trying to build up stacks of sushi, and there's different challenges. I think you have to do it as a team, and someone might close their eyes and be doing it. I think you might be using chopsticks. I haven't done much research on this one, but I love dexterity games, so I kind of hear dexterity game and then want to try it, and that's what I'll do. I think the best way to find out whether you like a dexterity game is just to try it for 5 minutes. So this is also from Blue Orange Games, that's Maki Stack. Crazy Eggs is also at Hall 1 B9. This is from publisher Happy Baobab, and this is also demoed only on the Sunday. It's another dexterity game, and this is actually a reprint, but I believe they've changed some of the rules, of Dancing Eggs, which is a Haber game, a kids game, silly party game, by designer Roberto Fraga, who did Captain Sonar and loads of amazing games. And this is a very silly game that I've never had a chance to play, but always like the sound of. It comes in an egg box, and you have to like keep these wooden eggs like trapped between like your cheek and your shoulder, or your chin and your chest. And this, I guess, is the same game, but they've maybe added some stuff. That sounds fun. Seeing as I never tried the original, I just want to try this one. It's back in print. Let's hope it still comes in a cardboard egg carton. So that's Crazy Eggs. Right, that's a lot of games that are demo only. Let's get back to some games that you can actually buy. Exit the Game is at Hall 1J4. This is from Cosmos. And of course, Exit the Game is this amazing line of escape room games. There's already been at least 6 of them. There's 2 new ones, I believe, just coming out right before the convention. This is The Sunken Treasure and Dead Man on the Orient Express. I need a bit of catching up with the Exit the Games. I've played the first 3. I've loved them all. I think they're the best escape room games if you've never tried them. They are one and done games. You can't even sell them on because it has a very immersive aspect of kind of playing and tearing up components and things like that, so you won't ever be able to kind of get any resale value out of it. But I love the immersive puzzle experience that these games, they really remind me of escape rooms more than other escape room board games. So of course I'm going to want to try out the new ones, and so yeah, those 2 are available along with all the other ones at the Cosmos booth. Drop It, also at the Cosmos booth, is for sale, and this is an interesting dexterity game where you have this Perspex container that you're dropping pieces in. So imagine this thin thing, almost like a Connect 4 type thing, and you're dropping in these wooden shapes, and you're trying to get them to drop and kind of land in certain places. Depending on where they end up, you'll get certain points in terms of how high they are, but there's also punishments if you drop certain shapes touching the wrong pieces or in the wrong place. You can get no points for that round, so you've got to be very clever. It's kind of a thinky, interesting dexterity game. I love dexterity games, and this one seems different to any one that I have. So on the face of it, I'm not sure whether I'm going to love it, but it certainly seems interesting, and that's why I got to try it. So that's Drop It from Cosmos. Affinity is at Hall 1B9, the Estivium Games booth. And this is an interesting cooperative game where you're trying to kind of read each other's minds. So one player has been assigned an emotion from 4, so it might be sad or happy, and they have these fragments of sentences on these cards. They have to create a sentence that isn't going to make a whole lot of sense, but that conveys the emotion that they've been secretly assigned, and then the other players have to discuss and then pick the emotion, and hopefully they guess the right one. For example, you might create the sentence, "A dictator drives dangerously under a bridge." That's one that I saw in a demo video. And you have to decide, what does that mean? Does that mean that they're trying to convey happiness or sadness or anger? So I like the sound of that challenge, and I love cooperative games with that discussion. It sounds a little bit like Mysterium, those types of things where you're trying to communicate to your teammates in an interesting way. CuBirds is at the same booth. This is a card game with really cute artwork of these kind of 3D cubed birds, and it's a simple card game where you are trying to collect unique sets of different birds, and the way you're doing that is by placing birds down onto the grid of birds that are kind of on the wire. You're trying to scare the other birds away back into your hand, and that's how you collect the right birds. I like light card games. It all comes down to the gameplay, really. The artwork's certainly right, but we'll have to see whether the game matches it. Time Arena is also at Hall 1B9. This is a game that I picked up at Essen, but I just wanted to tell you guys about it because I feel like it's flown under the radar a fair bit. It's a real-time 2-player game where you're head-to-head, and it's kind of like a battle game. You've got 4 units on the board. The other person's got 4 units, and you are fighting each other and then trying to get to the other player's base to take lives off of them. When your unit dies, it won't come back in until a sand timer has run through. And depending on the strength of your unit, you've got different length sand timers. So your best unit won't come back in for maybe like a minute, but your weakest one will come back every 15 seconds. You're also playing with a chess clock, like an app, so that if you run out of time on your turn, the game will end and you've lost. So you've got to be quicker in your turns than the other player, as well as also trying to beat them. So there's kind of 2 win conditions there. It's a very interesting real-time game, quite stressful, and it also has some extra elements that you can add. You can bring in special abilities for your units and make the game more interesting. Again, a very short one to try out and demo. You can learn it super quick and play it in 10 minutes, and then you'll know whether you like it or not. So that's Time Arena. 5 Minute Chase is at Hall 1 K2. This is publisher Board and Dice, and this is another real-time game and another crime theme. So it's just like all my Christmases have come at once with this expo. This is a game that plays in 5 minutes, and 1 or 2 players are playing runners. They've escaped prison and they're trying to get back to their hideout. And the way they're doing that is by placing tiles down, all just rushing and doing it as quickly as possible. And then the other 1 or 2 players are the police trying to catch them. So that sounds like a great theme. It's got really nice tile artwork, and whether the game is good, well, we'll see, and it'll only take 5 minutes to find out. So looking forward to trying out that one. And that is also for sale. It's not just a demo. Mythos Tales is at Hall 1 K2 as well, but this is from Grey Fox Games. And this is a game that was out a couple of years ago, but the crucial thing is that this is like a second edition with improved rules and improved cases, because the original game had a lot of errors, I understand, and that I never even played it because I just heard a lot of bad things. So Grey Fox Games have taken this game and fixed all of that stuff. What is the game? Well, the game is basically Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, but with a Cthulhu theme. So you are investigators trying to solve one of those Cthulhu type cases, and you're trying to get to the bottom of it. And so you're doing it in a very similar way to Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, where you're visiting locations and reading out passages. And I understand it has a couple more gamey elements than the original Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. But really, any game like that, I just want to at least try it. If they've written the cases nicely and there's interesting cases to solve, then why wouldn't I like it? I've got a couple of booths that don't have games that I'd like to mention. First up is All Rolled Up, and they're in Hall 1 at J26. And they do this great portable dice tray that I have that it kind of clips together with buttons in the corners, so it just lays flat and it's made of felt on one side and like pleather on the other side, and then you can take it wherever you want, and then it constructs into a dice tray. So I really like them, and they come in loads of different colors and patterns and stuff. And then if you're into RPGs, I've never got one of these myself because I don't play RPGs, but I've always been kind of jealous because I think some of the paraphernalia that our role players get to own and have is just awesome. And so they do these cool things that are like a little roll-up bit of material that you keep all your dice and pens and things in, and it's just like this little parcel, and it just looks awesome. It's yeah, you should absolutely check them out if you're a role player, if you don't have one of those already. Harps Corp are at Hall 1 J24, so just down the road, and they make awesome wooden accessories, so dice towers and dice trays. I have a really great dice tower from them. It's made from really nice solid wood, 2 different types of wood that they kind of mesh together, and it's felt lined, and it comes in a bunch of different colors. And the dice tower is nice because you can just lift out the top bit and then it becomes a dice tray, and it also collapses really nicely as well. And it has a little spot in the back to keep your dice in. So I'm going to be talking about this in my upcoming accessories videos, but I wanted to give them a mention now because both of these companies are at the expo. The network's Telly Time is in Hall 2 at booth F2. This is from Formal Ferret Games, and this is a small expansion to the game The Networks. So The Networks came out, I think, 2 years ago at Expo, and it's a game about putting on, like, you're putting on TV shows. You have a TV network and you are putting on TV shows. I really love that theme, and it's a very simple card game with a nice humorous feel to it, all the different shows. The great thing about this expansion is that it brings in British TV show references. So Gil Hover, the designer, is obviously a genius, and he's realized that the perfect thing to release at UK Games Expo is a British-focused expansion to his game. Of course, the UK has loads of amazing TV shows that I'm sure he's doing lots of puns on the titles of. So yeah, this is just going to be more of the same, but that's no bad thing for a card game. Choose Your Own Adventure is at Hall 1 K28 from Z-Man Games. This is demo only, and this is based on the Choose Your Own Adventure books that you might have played as a kid. So it's even using the same branding. They've obviously worked with them, and they've taken that and made it into a game. How have they done that? I'm not too sure, but I do love games that have that kind of story feeling to it, that you make decisions and that impacts where you go. That these are the games that I tend to love, things like Time Stories and This War of Mine, and of course the escape room games as well, but this hopefully has more of a storytelling feel than an escape room game. So hoping to have the chance to try this one out. I'm sure it's going to be a popular one. Choose Your Own Adventure. Coral Islands is at Hall 1 B6. This is from Alley Cat Games, who are a real growing British publisher. They have got Dice Hospital and a whole bunch of games coming up. And this one, what attracted to me is the artwork. Unfortunately, there isn't much of a description about how the game works, but it has got beautifully colored dice, a bit like Sagrada, and you're stacking them, I believe. Although, as I understand it, there are 2 different games in the box, one of which will be demoed at Expo. And yeah, the look of this game has got me. The artwork is by Sabrina Miramon, who did the artwork for Photosynthesis, which is the best box art of last year, and also Quadropolis. And Coral Islands just looks really nice as well on the cover. And if it's a relatively lightweight abstract game with beautiful dice, a bit like Sagrada, then that's appealing. I guess I'll have to try it to find out. Rebel Knox is at Hall 1 A6. This is a Porter Games, which are a small Norwegian publisher that I really like. And I'm loving seeing some of these new publishers coming to Expo for the first time from Scandinavia and other places, because it's really showing how the UK Games Expo is growing beyond just the obvious UK publishers. So that's really great. This one is demo only. And what intrigues me about this is that it's a simple card game that is in the same universe as Capital Lux. This was a game that came out at Essen the year before last. Really nice artwork from Kwanchai Moria. And I really liked that game as a filler card game, but it just had a bit too much maths in it for me. But certainly the gameplay I could really appreciate as being great. And I can understand why people really love it. And this one is different in terms of gameplay, but just the same theme. It's apparently a bit of a social deduction game with trick taking. That sounds very interesting, but really what's got me on board is just that it's a Porter Games and it's a light game, because they brought Avenue, which is one of my all-time favorite games. It's a roll and write game. I've talked about it loads. It's now called Kokoro. And so yeah, one of the designers, Christian Amundsen Osprey, also did Escape Curse of the Temple. So I'm always interested in their stuff, and certainly from the description, this one sounds like it's worth checking out. So I imagine this one will be coming out at Essen later this year. That's Rebel Knox. So at the same booth is Destination X. This is a game that I already got at Essen last year, but I wanted to tell you guys about it because I don't know if it's been available in the UK, but this is a party game where it's a very different party game that would be great for kids in a kind of almost an educational way, because the way it works is that one player is hiding in a country around the world. There's maybe 8 cards out that represent different countries of the world. They've picked one of them, and then every round the other players will ask them a question in a very limited way about that country. So like, what's the population, maybe what's the religion, which ocean does it border, things like that. And then they answer that question, and then the players have to deduce, they have to eliminate which countries don't fit, and they do it once per round until hopefully they will get it. And it's an interesting game because it's playing on your understanding of these countries. I wouldn't really say it's trivia. It's not as kind of heavy as having to know the capital of a country, but it requires you to understand a bit about demographics and economies and just, yeah, geography, really. So I think it's a game that I learned a lot playing, and I think it would appeal to someone that really loves traveling and that kind of thing, and also, again, parents playing with kids that want to kind of teach their kids more about the world. It's certainly a fun game. It plays a little bit like Unusual Suspects in the way that you kind of eliminate things. Yeah, it's just very unique. So you might want to try that one. That's Destination X, and it will be for sale. Pictomania 2nd edition is at Hall 1 B2 from Czech Games Edition. This is demo only to come out later this year. Pictomania is one of my all-time favorite drawing games. I talk about it in my 5 Alternatives to Pictionary video, and it's a classic. I'm sure many of you have played it. This is the new 2nd edition. The main thing that I'm super excited about this for is that they're going to release it in a Codenames size box. They've had such a huge success with Codenames, and they've realized that this is the way to release party games, and I wish that every single other publisher in the world would realize that, because releasing a party game in a Ticket to Ride styles box is a crime against humanity. But Pictomania is a great game, and they have advanced it a little bit. They've looked at it over the years and made some tweaks, made it a more clever game. I understand they've simplified some of the rules, which is great, because the only flaw really with Pictomania is that it can be complex to teach, and I certainly wouldn't play it with newbies. If they've simplified that, then great. They've also made it a bit simpler, whereas before you had 6 cards that you're looking at with different words on and a lot to take in. They've now put that down to 3 cards, which I think is a great idea. And then they've also balanced it in terms of the cards previously would have words that were all very similar, but they could be very different in difficulty of how you would draw them. Now they've tried to categorize them in terms of difficulty of drawing. So that's just a very clever way. That I love that they've kind of looked at that and appreciated the game after seeing it played so many hundreds of times and learned how to make it better. And then I think that they're going from whiteboards to drawing with pen and paper or pencil and paper. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It could be an improvement. Maybe it's just a step sideways, but I guess it makes the game cheaper or maybe smaller. So I don't know if I need to demo this one, because I'll probably just pick it up later. But if you've never tried it or you want to see the changes, then go and check out Pictomania 2nd edition. Kitchen Rush Piece of Cake is at Hall 1 K2. This is Artipia Games, and this is an expansion to Kitchen Rush, which is a game that I love from last year, a real-time cooperative game about running a restaurant. I've done a whole review of it if you've never heard of it, so go check that out. This is an expansion that adds desserts, and I don't know much more than that, but hopefully it makes the game more fun and exciting, maybe add some new challenges. I'm going to be probably waiting to try this one until Essen, but if you've never had a chance to demo Kitchen Rush, I'm sure they'll be demoing that as well, and so definitely worth playing that if you've never had before. Luxor is at Hall 1 F2 from Queen Games. This is a game that was just nominated for the Spiel des Jahres from designer Rudiger Dorn, who made Las Vegas and Istanbul and loads of great games. He gets nominated for the Spiel des Jahres a lot, and this game, I've watched Rado's rundown of this, which I would highly recommend if you want to learn more about it. It seems very, very simple, and you're exploring a temple and trying to get the best artifacts. Very kind of themeless, or very simple theme in that respect. This one's actually on Kickstarter now, so I'm a tiny bit confused about whether this one's demoing or for sale. We'll find out, but certainly intrigued to try any Rudiger Dorn game that gets nominated for the Spiel des Jahres. It's bound to be at least halfway decent, right? UBOOT, the board game, is at Hall 1 H14 from Phalanx Games. This was a Kickstarter that did very well, and it's a real-time cooperative game about running a submarine, but it's completely on the other end of the spectrum of something like Captain Sonar or maybe lighter real-time cooperative games. This one is an intense, thematic, really true-to-life game about running a submarine, and I had a little peek at the rulebook, and it's complex. So I don't know if it's necessarily one for me, but I certainly love the idea of games that really invest in a theme, that really just go all out and make it as realistic as possible. And I think that's what they're trying to do with this one. This one's demo only, so if you've got some time, you might want to go and check this one out. 1 Week Ultimate Werewolf is Hall 1 J22. This is Bezier Games, and this one's on Kickstarter at the moment. It's a evolution of their One Night Ultimate Werewolf world, universe, expanding universe of social deduction games. Those games are very short, they play in sort of 5-10 minutes. This one is a bigger, more involved game. It's a board game. It has these different rooms of this castle that you are taking your character around. You've been assigned a role at the start of the game, and you're either a villager or a werewolf or one of the other roles, and you're trying to work out what everyone does. And I believe the way you do that is by visiting rooms that each have special abilities, and certain things will be happening when you use those rooms. I like that they're innovating this. I know that some people are really tired of this world, and I like that they're trying something completely different. I like the idea of a 45-minute hidden role game because it's kind of getting close to sort of Dark Moon and Battlestar Galactica territory, and maybe it's a little less chaotic than One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Or certainly I love the idea of that you've invested that more time in it, and so the betrayals and the bluffing, it becomes more intense. So yeah, I'm excited to try this one and see where they're taking it. Werewords Deluxe is at the same booth from Bezier Games. This was on Kickstarter, and this is a improved version of Werewords, which is a game that I love from last year. You can check out my top 10 party games of last year to find out more about it, but it's 20 questions, the hidden role game, and it's a really fun party game. And with Deluxe, they've improved the terrible artwork, they've added in a bunch of new roles, and apparently they've added in this new mode called Speed Words. So I'm not racing to try out this because I feel like I'll get to it eventually. It's not that new enough for me to get excited about, but if you've never tried Werewords, then I would say this is a great opportunity to do that. So that's Werewords Deluxe. Those are the games that I think are worth checking out at UK Games Expo 2018. I won't have time to demo them all myself, so if you play one of these games and you enjoy it or you hate it, please let me know because I'd love to hear what you think about them, whether these games are worth trying out or getting myself. I absolutely can't wait for the expo to meet everyone, for all the different events and to play all the games. It's just such a fun weekend. I had such a blast last year. So please come and say hi, come and get a badge. Let's take a selfie together. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all again. Yeah, so I just can't wait. So yeah, that's the video. If you'd like to help Actualol grow bigger and better, then please head over to patreon.com/Actualol. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I'm John Perkis, thanks for watching.